LegalShield Associate Workout, the first one for 2024. And so thanks so much for joining me, Mike Fiffick Law Group. My law firm is the provider law firm for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I have offices in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and suburban Philadelphia. For those of you that are familiar with Philadelphia, my office is in Radnor. And I'm here to talk to you about legal topics that are trending or trending legal topics. We're going to branch off a little bit into some marketing topics as well that I hope will be helpful for you in putting together or refining or enhancing your plan to get more members into our community. That's the LegalShield community of empowered people who make better decisions to protect themselves, their family, their assets, and just live more empowered lives throughout the United States and Canada. So I'm really happy that you are joining me this evening. We'll probably do 4 of these associate workout events this year. We're going to be planning to do them quarterly, and they're really for us, salespeople, provider attorneys. We're here to talk about what we do in order to empower more people in our communities and do a better job of what we do. So here's the agenda for this evening. We're going to talk about, believe it or not, market segmentation. That's a big word, but I think you'll find it interesting. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk a little bit about the attributes of what we might all consider to be attractive customers for us. We'll talk about the concept of customer personas and creating those customer personas so that we can know who it is that we're going after. And we're going to talk about trending legal topics. And to the extent that you all have questions, I will endeavor to have some answers for you. And if I don't know the answer, I promise I will make it up. No, I'm just kidding. So let's talk about market segmentation first and foremost. All right, what is market segmentation? So market segmentation is it's a marketing term that just says that when a business splits potential customers into groups based upon their shared characteristics. So their shared characteristics. So it's just a way to identify potential customers that you should focus on. And I'm not going to tell you who to focus on. I'm going to give you these concepts. We'll talk a little bit about them. I hope some of you will be able to participate. I will try to unmute you all that you might be able to participate in this, but I want to hear from you, right? Hopefully this is a little bit of a forum where we can all share some ideas together about who we think are great customers to focus on. I'll give you some ideas that I have and who we might focus on, but this is really for all of you to think about on your own and come up with as a takeaway to this event. So as we are going to go through these materials, there are really 2 key questions that I think we need to focus on. Whenever we're thinking about customers or potential customers that are out there in the marketplace. Are they an attractive customer? Meaning, are they somebody that we think could be a potential good customer for us, that we're a good fit for them, right? And we'll talk a little bit about what makes a customer an attractive customer, and conversely, what makes them not attractive a customer. And secondly, do we have a chance to win with them? So is what we offer a good match for that customers or that customer segment of the market, right? That group of customers that share certain characteristics, is what we have to offer to them something that's a good match for their wants and needs and desires, the things that they care about, the things that are going on in their lives. So those are the questions that we're really trying to answer as we go through all of this. And so why should you care at all about market segmentation? Well, from my point of view, what I'll suggest to you is that it will help you be smart about what you're doing and help you make strategic decisions about your sales efforts. Okay, so that's really what it's there for, to help you make smart and strategic decisions about your sales efforts, right? You don't want to be wasting your time out there. You really want to be focused on efforts that have the best chance for a return for you, a positive return for you. The market segmentation is really the best way to find your ideal customers and the way to find your ideal customers is to define them, right? Who are they? What are the attributes that they have so that you can actually go look around for them, right? If I told you that, you know, there's a gunman in the crowd, it's not very helpful for me to tell you just go look in the crowd, right? That's not very good. You need me to tell you a little bit more about the type of person that you're going to go look for. So I might say he's wearing a hoodie, or he has a gun, or he's got a beard, or whatever it is. But you have to sort of narrow the field, right? There's a huge crowd out there, but you need some other characteristics in order to narrow the field so that you can specifically be looking for the type of person that you need to find. And that's really basically what this market segmentation is all about. We want you to understand your ideal customer so that you know where to look for them, right? Once you know who you're looking for, you can figure out where they are and how to approach them. And you can tailor your efforts and your messaging to reach those particular customers in the marketplace. That's really what market segmentation is all about. So let's talk a little bit about the attributes of an attractive customer. And this is where I am going to ask you to sort of maybe drop in the chat so I don't have to try to look for hands just at this particular moment, but drop in the chat. Why don't you tell me what you think are some attributes of customers who you think are attractive? What do they share? What do they share? Just drop that into the chat and we'll sort of go over that a little bit here. Okay, Connie says married. Not a a non-DIY owner. Family, stable job. Rod, that's a good one, right? What are some others? Small business owner. Okay, small business owner. Family with teenagers. Okay, small business owner with employees. That's a something else. They have a bank account, right? Small business service providers need a license to work. Probably need a license to work might be maybe a little bit too specific, right? We're talking about more broader type terms. So we don't want to get too granular, right? We're sort of stepping back a little bit and just thinking about some basic attributes that we want to be looking at to sort of basically the top of the funnel, kind of a thing. Elderly needing a will. Okay. That's definitely a little bit more specific. Outstanding business owners in the community. So these are all good ideas. Um, Small business owner that deals with a number of different vendors. Yeah, absolutely. When we're talking about small business people, definitely you want somebody that has to deal with a variety of vendors, that has contracts, right? Somebody that has contracts of some kind. That's a good match for us. So those are a lot of good ideas. Let me take it a little bit towards the top of the funnel, so to speak, right? A little bit broader of a view. And then we're going to narrow it down a little bit more as we get into customer personas. So here are what I think are some things that they kind of have to have, right? They have to have an income, right? They have to be able to afford the membership premium, right? So, and I guess what I should take a step back and say is that I often talk about the civil justice gap that exists in the United States today, right? Which is there is a tremendous amount of need for civil justice work, access to lawyers. There's a tremendous amount of need. Lots of people need access to a lawyer, right? And there's just not enough lawyers to connect to those people, or not enough affordable lawyers is really what I should say. There are a lot of lawyers out there, but there's not enough affordable lawyers to connect to fulfill all of that need that's out there. But I'm going to say that need isn't really what we should be looking for necessarily, right? Because there's always going to be lots of need out there, but that doesn't necessarily define what I would consider to be an attractive customer, and I don't think it really should be for you. One big separator between folks who need services and folks who need services who are a good match for us is they have to have an income of some kind, right? They have to be able to afford the membership premium in a very basic way, right? They have to value access to advice, right? They have to value access to advice. There are a lot of people out there that think they know everything, or that they're DIY, that they have what I call their Google JD, right? Their Juris Doctor, that they can find everything that they need to know out online of some kind. They don't really value access to advice. They value their own independence, and they're probably not people who are a good fit for what we have to offer to them, right? So we really are looking for people that we think will value access to advice. They probably have to have some type of online awareness presence. Really, what I'm talking about is somebody that can work with the internet, right? And we're really talking about folks who can use their mobile phones to access the internet, do things on their mobile phones. They aren't afraid of a computer. They have maybe a computer at home. They probably are familiar with social media in some way, shape, or form. That doesn't mean they have to be super active, but they're familiar with it. It's something that's accessible to them in a real way. If they struggle with those types of things, I think increasingly, what we have to offer to them is probably not going to end up being a great fit for them, right? There might be a little bit of struggle. They may have a difficult time using the service because they don't use they don't text, and we try to text them to say we try to get a hold of you, and they're baffled about that kind of a thing. So some kind of capabilities when it comes to using technology. Um, they need to appreciate value. So value shoppers, I think, are okay, right? People who appreciate value, I think, are good, right? Because we have a great value proposition. That's a lot of what we talk about. We should be very attractive to people who are looking for value. Somebody that has lots and lots of money, right? And they don't really care about that, then maybe we're just not a good fit for them. And they may not want to be consumers of a value service because they think that it's somehow less than what they should be getting, right? That they're going to think it's some type of a lesser type of a service. Um, and then we are also looking for people that value some type of ongoing relationship, right? Because that's what we're in. We're in the relationship business. We want to be in a long-term relationship with our customers. We're not looking for one night stands out there, right? We want people to buy the membership and value having access to legal advice and legal assistance over the long haul. That's really what we're trying to sell out there in the marketplace. Now, let's take the flip side of that conversation, and why don't you drop into the chat? What are some characteristics of customers that are not attractive to us, right? What are the red flags that you see out there that say to you, stay away? This is probably not somebody that's going to end up being a good fit for what we do. So maybe drop some of those into the chat. 911 calls. Excellent. Unemployed, no bank account. I totally agree, right? Those are really good ones. Living paycheck to paycheck, right? An immediate need, Connie says. I completely agree. Those are absolutely some of the red flags that are out there. And unfortunately, we still see folks like this. Nonprofits, you're right. We don't have a product that provides services to nonprofits. And I will tell you that some of the providers have been encouraging the company to maybe rethink that decision, and maybe we'll make some progress in that. Impulsive, highly emotional, entitled, Randall says, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Dismissive before learning, no responsibilities, negative about attorneys. That's a really good one, Harvey. Absolutely. And not interested without any hearing the facts, right? They just don't want to know anything. They don't want to learn anything. They're not interested in learning anything at all. They're not curious whatsoever. I completely agree with you. So a lot of these are, you got my list, right? You must have seen this PowerPoint ahead of time. So no reliable income, right? So people that, are unemployed, or they have short-term employment, or they maybe are on some type of government benefits like um, welfare of some kind, right? These are not necessarily good customers. I'm not saying that they don't need the service. I'm not saying that they wouldn't benefit from having access to a lawyer, but that's not really what we're in the business of doing here, right? We're in the business of making long-term relationships with people to better their lives. That's just not going to be everybody out there, right? We can't just go to, you know, the courthouse and start talking to everybody that's waiting for a hearing that day. They all have a need, and none of them have lawyers. That's just not going to be a winning. It's not a winning strategy for you for retained members. 911, right? They're involved in some emergency situation that you hear about it, or a friend or cousin or whoever tells you, yeah, my so and so's got this problem going on. Probably that's going to be a short-term person because they're looking to solve whatever that immediate problem is, and they can't think past that. All right, they can't think past that. Um, People who are looking for either the lowest price in town or free legal services, right? We get this all the time, unfortunately. I'm not saying that they come from associates, but these maybe are happen to be more direct to consumer type folks who are buying online, who are really looking for the lowest price in town. We don't have lawyers that are the cheapest lawyers in town. That's not what we're in the business of doing. We connect them with great lawyers at a reasonable price, but we're not the lowest price in town. We're not gonna beat the price on the internet for some DIY product or service out there. That's not really what we're in the business of doing. That's just not our product. That's not our service. People who are shopping for a product and not a relationship, right? That transactional person, right? So, somebody that wants a trademark. That's not really a great reason to sell somebody a business membership because they're going to get the trademark, and then quit, right? That's the chances, right? Somebody that has a traffic hearing and you sell it to them. Somebody has a court hearing, this might be an emergency type situation, but somebody's looking for a product, right? Somebody that just wants to get a will done. Oh, I'll do them a favor, and we've got this inexpensive service out there. You know, I think it's a very low value proposition for you. It's a low percentage proposition to think that or believe that um, somebody that is shopping for a product is going to get the product that they're looking for and somehow be so blown away by the service that they're all of a sudden going to become somebody who wants to be in a long-term relationship, right? Like that one night stand was just so great that now I want to start dating you and meet your parents next weekend, kind of a thing. That's really a low percentage shot for you. And for me, from a business perspective, it cost me a lot to provide a will to somebody and then they just quit in a month or two. That's a valuable service that I'm delivering, hoping that they're going to be there for a long-term relationship when they just quit after a month or two. And it's, you'd be maybe not surprised how many folks say, can I get my will done before the end of the month so that I can cancel my membership and I don't have to pay anymore? That's just the subscription model, anymore these days. And people are kind of aware of that. People who have the inability to work using a mobile phone, internet, connected devices, they have problems communicating, right? This is a phone service. This is not a meet in the office service, right? That's what this is all about. And increasingly, our company is pushing people to use the app, right? They want you to do that kind of a thing. Not that you have to, but they're pushing people. That's the way of the world. That's where everything is going. And we use a lot of technology to interface with our clients, email, text messaging, mobile phones. That's really how we communicate with folks. And if it's just not a world that they can play in, right? If you see them and you're talking to them about the plan and they pull out their flip phone because they want to call somebody and tell them what a great service this is, that's a red flag. It's a red flag that we might have some difficulty getting a hold of them, and then they're unhappy because they think that we're not getting a hold of them. Meanwhile, they don't know how to their voicemail's not set up on their flip phone, or they don't know how to check their voicemail, or it's full, or they can't get text messages, and there are six text messages in their inbox from Fific Law Group saying, "We'd really love to help you with this thing, but you got to answer the phone." If you're afraid to answer phones from somebody on caller ID that's unknown, we can't promise that our caller ID is going to come through all the time. This is probably a service that maybe is a mismatch for them. Um, People that have a history of problems with attorneys or the legal system, right? If somebody's coming to you and complaining, that about their lawyer or the last two lawyers they had, or this is the fourth lawyer that they've been on this case and they've all screwed it up. If they've got conspiracy theory on the brain, kind of a thing, everybody's out to get them. I can't hire any of the lawyers in that town because they're all in cahoots with one another, kind of a thing. We hear that. It's surprisingly how often we hear that. These are not high quality customers for you. I'm just going to tell you that. They're probably not going to keep the membership, or they're going to cancel, and they're going to end up being the loudest complainers. And that's really the last thing that you want. It's the last thing that we want. It's very costly from a PR standpoint. It's costly from a management standpoint, dealing with folks like that, having to spend lots of time with them, and they're just not ever going to be happy. Um, that's probably just not folks that we want to be connected with. So problems with attorneys, legal system, complainers, that should just be a red flag. You know, life's too short. I don't want to have to deal with that. All right. So let's switch gears here and talk a little bit about customer personas, right? So we're going to take those attributes of the attractive customer, those broader attributes of the attractive customer, right? Let's go back to this just for a minute. They have income, right? They got a steady income. They can afford the membership. They value access to advice, right? They're not just DIYers, not the know-it-alls of the world. They have some type of a ability that you think to communicate with modern tools. They appreciate value, right? It's a lot of people appreciate value, and they're looking for an ongoing relationship. They're not just looking for a product, right? So that's kind of the top of the funnel. That should separate out lots of people out there, right? Not every person that says they've got a legal issue is somebody that you should be trying to connect into our community, because they do not necessarily make good customers, right? So customer personas. This is a profile of an ideal customer from a key segment of your audience, right? You could have a variety of customer personas that you think are attractive and who you'd like to target and develop a strategy to go after, right, in your business. Um, so there could be lots of different ones out there in the marketplace, right? These are semi-fictional representations of your ideal customer. You can even give them a name if that's what you want. That's very common to give them a name. And it's a profile that you put together, or a persona that's put together based upon information from a variety of sources. So let's talk a little bit about the sources of information for customer personas. So again, we're sort of trying to be a little bit empathetic, right? We're trying to put ourselves in the shoes of people out there in the marketplace that fit those broader criteria, right? To maybe get a little bit inside their heads, right? To think a little bit about what's going on in their lives so that we can better identify them, find where they might be, and be able to communicate with them and have messaging with them that would be more effective. So demographic information, great source of information. So demographic information is, gender, race, age, educational background. Are they high school educated? Are they college educated? Maybe they have a graduate degree. Who knows? Maybe they went to trade school of some kind. What's their occupation or their income level? Income level is one thing, but occupation probably tells you a little bit more about the person and their personality and their characteristics, and perhaps their wants and needs and desires. Marital status, somebody had mentioned that before, somebody that's married. If they have kids, that tells you something about them, and their social class, right? Their social class. So you could have folks that are married with kids who don't have a regular income. That's not who you're looking for. But if you think that you find people that are married or married with kids that have income or attractive customers, that's a little bit broad. You probably want to narrow it down a little bit more with some other criteria. But now you're beginning to sort of identify a persona of somebody who you can talk to. You might have some idea of what's going on in their lives, the types of things that their challenges, their goals, right? And how LegalShield fits as a solution to their challenges, helps them achieve whatever their goals might be in their life. So demographic information is definitely something that is a great source of information about folks. Geographic information is also helpful, right? What zip code are they in, right? You can actually, there's free resources online that you can look at the zip codes in your particular area and find all kinds of different demographic information about people in those zip codes, right? You're in your area or wherever it is that you work and want to try to market your services and our product out there. You might decide that you want to market it to a demographic that's older, you know, so you'd look for the zip codes that have the higher percentage of folks that are in that age range that you're looking for. And maybe that's one way for you to start concentrating your efforts to go into that zip code where you're going to take your message and hunt for that persona of somebody that you think that you can win with, that maybe fits with whatever your skill set is that you can communicate with. The county, a town, community, maybe the school district. These are all things. If I'm thinking about Pittsburgh, right? The geographic area of Pittsburgh and the product and services that I have to offer as a lawyer, right? There are going to be some communities and zip codes that I think I'm going to have a much better chance where I'm going to find customers that I think I have a better chance of winning with. And there are some zip codes and communities and school districts in the Pittsburgh area where I don't think that I'm going to find folks who I consider to be my ideal customer. And so I'm probably not going to go there. I'm not going to concentrate my efforts there. I'm not going to go hunting there for folks who I think might be a good win for me. So this is just part of the mix, right? Part of the information, the resources that you're gathering to put these personas together. Now, the other one is this is much more, a little bit more difficult, but there's information available online about this. But psychographic traits about customers that are in the marketplace. So, personality types, traits, lifestyles. A lifestyle might be people that are into fitness, right? What are the attributes of people into fitness? How might this be a service that would really be fit with the wants, the desires, the needs of folks that are into fitness? Maybe they're just outdoorsy, right? So it could be that's just an example, right? An example of lifestyles, right? Social status, whatever their lifestyle, whatever their attributes, their attitudes are, their activities, their interests, things going on in their lives that are out there. Because there are lots of people in your communities, wherever it is that you're living and working, and where you're trying to build your business, that are um, gathered around some of these lifestyles, gathered around some of these attributes, right? People who are faith is important to them. That's a lifestyle. That's an attitude that will help you figure out who those folks are, what they're concerned about, and what type of messaging that you want to have for them. Maybe there are folks that are um, into book clubs or those types of things. Maybe they're um, gardening club. There are lots of different lifestyles and attributes. Maybe they're very patriotic, right? Maybe there are lots of patriotic people, around. Maybe they're historians. Who knows? Lots of different attributes that are out there amongst people. These are the types of things that uh, that you might want to be looking for and thinking about that are out there in the marketplace to help you put together that persona. So questions then, once you maybe develop some personas out there, there are some questions that you're going to have to answer for each one of them, right? What are their goals and objectives, right? What are the things that that persona type of a person um, has? What do they want to accomplish? What's important to them in their lives? What are their objectives that are they got going on in their lives? And just as importantly, what are the challenges that they might have, right? That's going on in their lives too, that you might be able to solve. You can certainly think about different phases in life and the different challenges and the different goals that we might have had, right? These things change for people over time as well. So, you could think of somebody that's married, that has kids and they're school-aged kids, right? What are their goals and objectives at that particular phase in their lives, right? What do you think their challenges are in that phase of their life? And maybe you feel that you can speak into that person, right? That person in the marketplace, and you've got something to say to them, and you think you can build an effective message to talk to those folks about why you think it's important for them to be connected into our community, right? It could be that they want to parents want an advocate for their kids in school, right? They for bullying or other things that are going on for kids in school. Maybe you want to encourage them to get a standby guardianship agreement in place for their kids in the case something mom happens to mom and dad, or they want to get their estate planning together, or they're in that phase of life where they might be buying a house or maybe buying a different house or working with contractors. Lots of different goals and objectives and challenges for those folks in that phase of life that if you really target them, you might really have a lot to say, and you can go figure out where those folks, are going to be. And then now you know exactly where you want to go because you think you're going to find those folks that you have a message for. Um, and very importantly, what are the common objections to purchasing our services that these folks you might expect them to have? And you have to be prepared for those, right? You have to have a good answer to those. So anticipate them in advance and be prepared to have a good answer for those things, not a sort of a gotcha, but you just want to be able to overcome them in a way that's effective to keep the dialogue going and have them maybe do a little bit more discovery with you. So let's talk about a couple of sample personas, right? That I've sort of thinking about. This is just what's meaningful to me. You might have something a little bit different in your mind. You have to develop your own, right? Take these tools and think about where you're at, what your community, and you can come up with a variety of customer personas that you think you can win with, right? That you think would be a great match for our services that would be the ideal customers for us to have who want to have that long-term relationship with us. So here's one, Henry Homeowner. That's what I call him, right? I said you can come up with fun names for your personas. Henry Homeowner, right? These are the characteristics that I think fit with this persona, right? He owns a home in, I would say a middle class neighborhood, maybe an upper middle class neighborhood, right? Could be whatever it is. This is a successful looking, good looking guy. Probably lives in a nice neighborhood, has a nice house, right? 40 plus, I would say probably 40 plus, maybe not over 65, but it could be, right? Henry homeowner. He's likely married, but not necessarily, right? Might not be, kind of a thing. Values family, probably has a family and values his family. I mean, we all love our families. That's oftentimes who we say is the most important thing in our lives. That's an important thing to remember whenever you are building personas, that people have families, find them very important to them. So that's probably some messaging that you want to build into your presentation. How this service, how being part of our community is aligned very well with somebody who values their family, who finds them to be the most important thing in their lives. Let's tell them why we're aligned in that way. This Henry homeowner has income, pays his bills, right? He pays his bills. He's got probably some discretionary income, goes on vacation maybe every year, isn't driving some jalopy kind of a thing. So he's got a couple of bucks. This is something that, he's got a little bit of extra money, and this is something that he can afford to pay for. Probably saves money, right? Wants to preserve his hard-earned bucks. Don't we all, right? We work hard for our money and we want to save it. We don't want to spend it willy-nilly, and we want to ultimately retire at some point and have something to pass on to make our kids' lives better than ours. So that's what this person does, saves money. And probably is active on social media. Might use Instagram if he's towards the younger side of that age bracket. Maybe uses Facebook if he's on the older side of that age bracket. Uh, might be a professional, and if so, might use LinkedIn. That has a particular audience, and certainly uses email, texting, might even use instant messaging with Facebook or Instagram, or some of those types of things as well. So, I think Henry's goals and challenges are going to be problems arising out of homeownership, right? Maybe problems with neighbors, uh, neighbor's tree is hanging over the yard. I have a couple posts on my website about that. I get a lot of people reading that, right? So homeowners have problems, have challenges. There are things that they're concerned about. Maybe they're getting a refinance. Maybe they're borrowing money, a home equity loan. Lots of different things arise out of it. Maybe they're thinking about putting their kids' names on the deed for one reason or another. Maybe getting remarried and putting a new spouse's name on the deed. These are very common home ownership type things that are coming up. Very likely working with a contractor at some point along the way to do something with their home. And, contractors, sometimes you get some problems working with contractors. Maybe they need contracts to be looked at, all that kind of stuff. Certainly Henry would want to protect his family through estate planning, right? That's definitely something that I think we can all agree that Henry would be aligned with. He may even, if he's getting a little bit older, want some advice, financial advice or other planning type advice as he's approaching retirement, right? Be got a little bit thinking about that, a little bit of thinking about the future, and be looking for ways to protect his assets. Maybe is even looking at self-employment, consulting, post-retirement of some kind, starting a business. Maybe that's always been his dream to do something and has some thoughts about that kind of a thing going on. So these are some goals and challenges that I think the Henry homeowner persona might have, where I think we have lots of good answers there, right? And objections. Never had to use an attorney, right? Kind of had a nice life, sort of a thing, and maybe really hasn't had to use a lawyer. It's only been intermittent. Doesn't maybe necessarily understand how access to an attorney can really enhance his life or is aligned with the things that he thinks are important or the challenges that he has. But you're going to be able to enlighten him on all of those types of things. Um, Henry's probably cost conscious and doesn't have tons of bucks to throw around. So the cost of hiring a lawyer is definitely going to be something that is going to be on his mind, right? And maybe that's a reason why he hasn't used a lawyer in the past, because it's expensive or he thinks he only needs it, God forbid, in the event he gets a divorce or some kind of a thing like that comes into his life. So that's Henry Homeowner. That's just an example of a persona that's out there. So, if I had this persona, I would think about where is Henry Homeowner? Where can I find Henry Homeowner? Right? And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward. But where are the Henry homeowners out there that I can connect with them in some way and raise awareness of our community, our empowered community, and how we're aligned with their goals and desires. How about recently retired? Right? This is another persona that's out there, and I would say, in my view, I could be wrong. This is just the way I see it. 65 plus, right? They've got their money saved, right? So they've saved their money, and now really what they want to do is preserve it, right? And still grow it, but they want to preserve it, right? That's really what they're going to be thinking about doing. They're on a fixed income as well, most likely, right? They might be on Social Security. They might be collecting a pension. They might have some type of an income coming from retirement accounts, maybe an annuity of some kind, whatever it is. But they're probably on somewhat of a fixed income, likely married. Maybe these folks are a second marriage, right? A second time around the block for both of them for whatever their life journey has brought them to that point. They have children who are most likely adults, right? And they likely own a home, and maybe they're even considering downsizing because the kids have flown the nest, and they don't like mowing the grass and cleaning the big house anymore, and thinking about downsizing, maybe even buying a vacation home of some kind or a timeshare, you know, kind of a thing. Definitely, you'd want to connect them to us if they're thinking about buying a timeshare, so we can tell them don't do it. Um, right? And they probably use social media as well, right? Facebook, most likely, email, texting, they're using all of those types of things. Maybe even LinkedIn, although if they're past their professional lives, they probably aren't really as involved in LinkedIn because that's more of a forum for active professionals. So Facebook is most likely where they are. Their goals and challenges, protecting their family through estate planning, absolutely 100%. That's definitely something that the recently retired are thinking about. And they might not even have an estate plan in place, or most likely if they did, it's time to change it, right? Because things have changed. They maybe do some special planning for children from prior relationships. Second marriages is definitely a profile that's out there, and there are special challenges for people who are getting married for the second time. Maybe they want to protect their respective assets that they're bringing into the marriage. They don't exactly know how they want their respective families to receive an inheritance, but they're not exactly sure how to do that because this isn't like the first marriage, the Ozzie and Harriet situation, right? Where it goes to my spouse and then to our kids. This might be goes to my spouse for a little while and then goes to my kids, right? Not her kids, but my kids. How do I accomplish that? Because that's a little bit of a different plan. And there are going to be some things that we have to talk about relating to that. They might be starting to think about nursing care, asset protection, right? That's the big boogeyman that increasingly is on our minds as we pass that retirement threshold and we're getting a little bit older and maybe those hips aren't so good or we can't get around or one of us is starting to not exactly be as sharp as we used to anymore and we start thinking about might not be able to stay in my home forever. um, Maybe one of them is a caregiver for an elderly family member, right? Taking care of their mom, taking care of their dad. Maybe that's why they retired. Maybe they retired early so they can take care of a parent. That's a whole host of other issues that are going on out there. I think the caregiver can be its own customer persona in and of itself. They want some advice while approaching retirement or even post-retirement, on how to protect their assets in the event of having to go into a senior community. And they might even want some help planning for a vacation home, right? It's their rules to govern the vacation home while they're around. But once they're gone, if you put three kids' names on the deed with no rules whatsoever, who knows what's going to happen? Normally, it's going to be a recipe for chaos and fights and misunderstandings and battles. So, I encourage folks who have a vacation home of some kind, let's put some rules in place to govern your kids and their relationship with one another and the vacation home after you're not there to be the referee, anymore and to make all of the rules and for have them listen to you. Objections that recently retired might have is they may want an attorney close to where they live, right? That's something that you'd have to be thinking about. They want to go to that person's office. They're used to meeting face to face. Maybe they have some physical problems that prevent them from traveling long distances and that they have that kind of an issue, or they want somebody to come see them in their own home so because they can't get out of there at all. They have fixed income, so they prefer value, right? They're value shoppers. So you have to talk to them, about that. Maybe they're even suspicious that this is a service. Like, how good can it be if I'm only paying $29.99 a month or $35.99 a month or whatever it is? How good can this really be? They might be suspicious and say, I've worked all my life. I've got some money saved. Um, I'm not sure that I want to go with some kind of discount outfit here. I'm not so crazy about that. But you'll have to talk to them about that and really know your provider law firm and be able to sing their praises and tell them how they can really meet your needs. All right, I got one more for you. Carly Chaos. So Carly, no knock on it. She's usually younger, 25 to maybe 45, kind of a thing. High school education or less. I'm not knocking folks that don't have a college degree, but this is just the persona. Single, maybe with children, probably with children, maybe living with her, maybe not. Semi-employed or on a fixed income, maybe via government benefits, but not. We're not talking about somebody that has a reliable source of income. Is really what we're talking about. Carly has problems paying her bills on time, and she's built up some consumer debt. That's an issue that keeps coming up with Carly. That she's got bill collectors calling. She's a renter, or maybe she's got some kind of housing instability where she's living, maybe living in somebody else's house and not paying for it because she can't afford to live anywhere else, kind of a thing. And she's got a history of problems with the people in her lives, right? She's fighting with the kids' fathers. She fights with the landlord. She's got the creditors calling all the time because she's not paying them. Maybe she's had some problems with her former employers, but the theme in Carly Chaos's life is that she's got a lot of problems with a lot of people, right? And eventually, right, like I say with Liz Taylor when she was on her fifth marriage or so, maybe it's you, not them, kind of a thing, at some point along the way. So her goals and challenges, she's dealing with insufficient or unstable income. That's a big problem for her. And guess what? That's a big problem for you whenever you're selling a membership that needs to be paid for on a monthly basis. She's got debt collecting problems, and that's definitely a problem for her and for you because there's going to be competition for her dollars, and sometimes that competition is going to mean that we don't get paid. She's got child support, child custody problems going on in her life. Maybe she's got people suing her. She's got some court hearings going on, all the time. Um, Objections. She's got an unstable method of payment for the membership. Can't afford to hire a lawyer. She's probably going to have a misunderstanding about the membership benefits, right? She might be a little bit more in desperation mode and wants to hear what she wants to hear rather than what it is that you have to say about the membership, and probably not going to be reading the membership agreement. So Carly Chaos, this is a persona that's out there in the marketplace, and my suggestion to you is you probably want to avoid Carly Chaos as a customer if you see her coming down the road. And I don't think you really want to go in places where the Carly Chaoses of the world are hanging out, or that's where you're going to find them, um, because they're probably not good customers for you. Even though they have needs, they definitely their lives would be enhanced by having access to an affordable attorney 100%. She definitely has issues with debt collection and child support, child custody, landlord tenant problems, other problems in her life with people. She would definitely benefit from having a lawyer. It's just that I don't think our product's a great match for her because she can have a difficult time affording it. So some other factors that influence buying decisions, these fall into two categories. I would call them rational, and the other category is either irrational or just emotional, right? Either way. Um, but rational, right? These are sort of things that people can definitely think of whenever they're making a buying decision, that are rational things that they think about, like the price, scope of services, location, where are we versus where are they? That's going to be something that people are going to be thinking about. I'd prefer to have a lawyer in my own community that I can go see if I need to, even though in reality, it's very unlikely that they're going to need to go see a lawyer. And actually, our service offers them far greater access to their attorney than a relationship where you go see the attorney, right? That pretty much doesn't exist anymore, quite frankly, not that much. The success rate, right? Are these lawyers good? Do they win their cases? How successful are they at getting results for their clients? What are their online ratings, right? That's very important for people. You know it. You're a consumer out there. Before you go shopping, you probably look at their Google reviews to see what's going on with this business before you might make a business decision, right? I certainly do that all the time. And so the buying public does that too. You should expect your customers to be doing that. That's why I have always encouraged sales associates to Google rate your provider law firms and encourage your teams and your networks to go leave a Google review for your provider lawyers. It is in your best interest for your provider lawyer to show up great in Google reviews, because if they don't show up great, that's going to be a challenge for you in the marketplace to sell memberships. If you tell them who the provider lawyer is and they go check them out and their Google rating is 2.3, that's bad for you. You could be the best salesperson in the world. That just killed your opportunity to have another conversation with these people. So if you have not left a Google review for your provider lawyer, go leave it. And if you want to leave a Google review for me, I would love it. I really appreciate that because it definitely helps out there in the marketplace. So do yourself a favor and leave a Google review for your provider lawyer and for LegalShield, right? Very important. Here are some irrational, or what I'd call emotional, influencers in the buying decision as well. Reputation. Does a law firm have, what type of a reputation does LegalShield have, right? What type of reputation does the provider law firm have? So again, we have to guard the reputation of LegalShield, guard the reputation of our provider lawyers as well. That's very important, but that's going to be something that is going to impact a buying decision. Brand popularity. LegalShield is definitely out there. They're doing a great job at winning market share when it comes to appearances in the marketplace. Their PR team, I think they have a great PR and marketing team right now on staff. They do a wonderful job of getting out there in the marketplace, and they're doing a better job of using their provider lawyers to talk to the market out there and tell people just what kind of folks we have representing us out there and who are going to be your lawyers if you are a member of our community. They're doing a great job. Sociability, right? How sociable are you? How sociable are the provider lawyers that they're connecting with? We talk a lot. I'm saying the LegalShield and the provider lawyers talk an enormous amount of time about connecting with members and empathetic connections with members, communicating with members, um, making them happy. We really work a lot on this thing. It's something we talk a lot about. But this makes a decision. You could talk about this. This might be something that, somebody that's never used a lawyer before or has had a bad experience with a lawyer in the past because they're a know-it-all, or they talk down to their client. You have a different story to tell about the provider lawyer in the LegalShield world. You really do. We really try to get the friction out of the way, get the jargon out of the way, get the attitudes out of the way, and just there to be effective and help folks in a meaningful way. The appearance, right? How does LegalShield look online? How does your provider lawyer look online? What if somebody's going to go check us out? How do we show up, right? A lot of people are going to do that, not just the Google reviews, but their websites, their social media pages, all of that stuff. LegalShield's, again, their marketing and PR team does a really bang up job on this stuff. I think we really show up very well out there in the marketplace, and a lot of provider lawyers are doing a wonderful job at that as well. Online presence. So sort of similar things. So these are all things that you really have to be thinking about as you're, interacting with folks and putting your feelers out there into the marketplace. These folks might be checking these things out even before you've had a conversation with them or had an opportunity to talk to them about the membership. So this is another one where I'm looking for you and your ideas that you can share with me and you can share with your other colleagues that are out there in selling LegalShield memberships, right? Where do you find your ideal customers, right? Where do you find them? Here are just some ideas that I had just to share with you. Community Facebook groups, right? If you're on Facebook and maybe you're part of a community or groups, I see many of you in Facebook groups that are LegalShield related, but there are many out there that are associated with communities in your area. And many of those community Facebook groups allow for posting about your small business or opportunities out there. You really should be active. You might find your ideal customer personas hanging out in some of those Facebook groups. Maybe there are affinity groups on Facebook that you can join that are associated with folks that you're looking for, such as Facebook community groups for, let's say, caregivers, right, that you're looking for, or retirees, or something like that. You should be speaking into those or maybe actively participating in those. And then on social media in general, maybe you think that you've got a win when it comes to working with families with children. Maybe parent-teacher organizations are places where those are places that you can find them, or events that they put together that they have going on that you could try to participate in. But your ideal customers are likely to be there, and maybe you've got a message that will be effective where you're really communicating with the exact folks that you think that you can win with. People in churches, they probably have um, uh, there are probably several profiles of people who are faith forward, right? Where their faith is important to them. What are the values and wants and desires that you think are associated with those folks? And maybe you can win there. Maybe there's people that are community oriented or they're outgoing. You could put a message together, for those folks as well. Community organizations, nonprofits that are reaching out into the marketplace that are serving a particular segment of the community that you think would connect you with ideal customers. Maybe you want to talk to these community organizations and maybe even partner with them in some way that they can raise awareness for Legal Shield and the assistance that we can provide to their constituents and maybe connect you with folks. Um, Local events, again, where you think that you might be able to hunt for your ideal personas. And maybe you look for some partnerships and referral resources like financial advisors, realtors, insurance agent, even funeral directors. These are people that are going to be facing some type of an estate where they're going to have to open an estate, or maybe there's some family fight over an estate, or somebody that's been taking advantage of somebody who's now recently departed, and there's going to be a family squabble over something. These are all potential partnerships, potential referral sources for you that can connect you with folks that I think that we're a good match for, and that you have a really good chance to win with them whenever you're connected to them. So some trending legal topics, and I know we're getting here close to the hour, so I'll sort of zip through these. Home buying and selling. If you have not seen it or paid attention to it, there's been a litigation going on against the National Association of Realtors that just settled last week, and it is widely expected to have a huge impact on how people buy homes and how people sell homes. So you should be looking for information about this. If you go on my website, I just did an article about this in particular, and it'll give you a sort of a synopsis of what I think is going on, what the case is all about, and what the impact will be. Likely going to be happening in July. But I will tell you that where I think that there's a real win for us, when I say us, it's sales associates and Legal Shield providers. I think more people are going to be incentivized to buy homes without using realtors. And they might decide that using an attorney to prepare a sales agreement, present it to the seller, and assist them in the home buying process is a whole lot less expensive than paying 3% or 2% of the sales price to a buyer's agent, which just causes them to bring more money to the closing that they didn't have already. It's already expensive enough for people to buy homes. You'll see in the blog post on my website if you'd like, or you can read. There's a whole host of things going on the internet that can explain what's going on with this settlement. But the result might be that home buyers, it's already expensive for them to buy a home, may be forced to bring even more money to the closing table and make it more difficult. They're going to have to make some choices about how they buy a home. And I think some of the choices that they may make is they're just not going to use buyer's agents anymore and go it alone. So you really want to connect them with somebody who can help them through that process. If they're not going to be working with a buyer's agent, where are they going to get the advice? They're going to DIY it and rely upon that, which is in buying a home is very complex. There's a lot of issues that are going on there. They really need to have access to a lawyer if they're going to be going through the home buying process without a buyer's agent. Caregivers. There's a huge number of caregivers in the United States, and it's only growing. It's going to continue to grow as the age wave rolls on. And there's a whole host of issues for caregivers out there. This is a focus of mine in 2024. You'll see lots of materials on my website about caregivers and what's going on, out there for caregivers. So if you want to be clued in on the caregiver persona out there and the types of issues that they might be facing for themselves, right? If they're employed and they got to take time off to care, I mean, what are their rights to take time off? How do they deal with taking time off? Are they entitled to take time off for an extended period of time? what is their level, what type of authority do they need to make decisions for the care recipient? Do they need a power of attorney in place? Can they have it if they're being paid by medical assistants to provide care for somebody in the home? There are problems with that. Um, a lot of issues they're going to have to deal with that are really the care recipient's issues, and maybe helping that person make decisions about senior care and how that's paid for. A lot of complex things that they're dealing with. So that's a big area that I think is growing out there. Nursing home planning and protection. Again, as the age wave is moving on, people are getting older. They're definitely have their antenna up about asset protection and nursing home planning. Pennsylvania is one of the oldest states in the United States. We have a very old population, and this is definitely something that's big on people's minds here. And maybe it is, in your area as well. Estate planning, always going to be big. Trusts, elder law. This is a growing area of practice out in the legal community. There are more lawyers moving into the elder law field, and that sort of covers asset protection. It covers nursing home planning. It covers the preparation of trusts and protecting assets using trusts. This is definitely something that if you haven't seen it yet in your community, maybe you're just not paid attention to it, but you're going to start seeing it more and more as it's going on. Bankruptcies are expected widely to increase in 2024, especially as we get into Q2, Q3. I think we're going to see an increase in bankruptcies that are out there. So we're already seeing more calls about that type of a thing. Online defamation, privacy issues. We get more people calling about this type of a thing. Somebody has slandered them on Facebook, spread lies about them or their business on Facebook. Perhaps they've shared pictures of people that are intimate. There's bullying going on. There's revenge porn. Somebody threatening them because they have an intimate picture of them that they're going to disclose it. In the advent of the digital age, right, these types of things are just out there and people are going to be increasingly concerned about them. So those are some trending issues that we see going on out there that you might be thinking, how do I make some hay out of that? Who are the personas that these would be their challenges? These would be their goals that I can speak into that community and connect them with our service. So that's what I have for you this evening. I do